kill the brain and you kill the ghoul.
Welcome to a whole new season of Cold Dead Heart. We'd like to thank you for returning or stumbling in the woods to us this fine fall. With me today is Ken
Hey guys.
and me, your host, Gigi. All right, so for this episode, our reintroduction back to Cold Dead Heart, I'd like to talk about our new format. And the man with the knowledge is Ken.
All right, guys. So we've heard your comments and talked to some of you guys in the chats, and it seems the most popular thing that people are really enjoying is hearing us deep dive into specific movies. So our new fall format, what we're going to do is we're going to pick a movie for each show that everyone's watched, and we're just going to tear it down from beginning to end, talk about the good, the bad, and the bloody, and really get into some good conversations. Now, the most important thing is we're going to keep each episode to 30 to 40 minutes max. So you won't have to worry about these, hour and a half, 2 hour long shows. We're going to keep everything nice and concise.
I love a good deep dive because, as they say, the devil's in the details.
There you go.
All right. So what about this summer? What have you been up to?
It's been a pretty cool summer. So why don't I get into some of the cool stuff? So first, we did a huge camping trip, and we went up to where In a Violent Nature was filmed. I'm lucky enough to live not super far from there. It's actually an area, I think I've mentioned this on the show before. It's an area where when we were teenagers, we used to go camping. Like, I know the area very well. So we actually found some cool actual film set locations or just adjacent to some of the same bodies of water. And we camped for a couple of weeks out there, just walking the land. So that was pretty cool. Me and a couple of friends that were with us on the trip actually watched the movie In a Violent Nature on an outdoor projector a few weeks before going. So it was really cool. Really cool.
Small comic convention this summer.
Nice.
Dressed as Jesse from the video game Control by Remedy.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Not difficult to cosplay because she pretty much just wears a biker jacket, black pants, and boots.
Anyone recognize you?
Nope, not a single person, but that's okay.
Those like deep cut cosplays are always my favorite. Like when I recognize something that's from something so obscure, like I don't talk to cosplayers a lot, but like when I do, I always make a point to mention it. And like generally people are like, yes, right? Big high vibe.
My husband also stitched a leather patch in the shape of a black triangle on the back of my leather jacket, which is a reference to the game as well. So there was like a little nod in my outfit I was proud of. And while I was there, one of the booths, they were selling 3D printed Sam lollipops from the movie Trick or Treat, and I had to get one of those.
Oh, how cool is that? Yeah, definitely. That is so cool.
It was awesome. And there's a lot of really neat vendors there. This summer, I also picked up from one of our Discord members a Tarman figure, and it is so impressive.
That must have been Twizzy.
Yes.
Yeah,
I wasn't
we
sure
call
if
him the Ford Master.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he was okay with us mentioning his name.
Oh, that's his nickname, so.
Okay, all right, cool. So yeah, he's awesome, and the detail put into this is just astounding, and it is the coolest thing. I'm so excited.
I love his stuff, man.
Yeah.
He's so talented with that stuff.
And that's Tarman from the movie Return of the Living Dead.
For collectibles, I actually had a pretty decent summer for collectibles. So early at the beginning of the summer, there was a Comic-Con down in Niagara Falls that I go to every year. I was actually going to skip it this year, but James O'Barr, the creator of The Crow, announced that he was going to be there, so I had to go. It was a really busy weekend for me, so I could only make the Sunday. but I did get to meet him and chat with him a bunch, which is always a pleasure. I've met him a few times. He knows me by face now, which is kind of deep honor for me. And he was already, every show he brings like these really nice crow art pieces. But going on Sunday, I knew it was a gamble. And of course they were all sold out. They move pretty fast. That's like, you got to be there Friday or really early Saturday to score them. So I was kind of bummed, but he did do 2 little commissions on the spot for me. So now I have 5 original James O'Barr crow pieces in my collection, which I'm super stoked about. Then we had our big nerd fest in Toronto. It's called Fan Expo. It's a mix of comic and horror and sci-fi and anime, that stuff. Again, it's been a busy summer, so I couldn't go the whole weekend like normal. But my nephew really wanted to go, so we went on the Friday. Nothing overly cool show oriented, but I did find or bump into a signature dealer who I've gotten a lot of cool, hard to find signatures from. And I scored a John Carpenter signature on a Halloween mini poster, which is like a grail for my horror signatures. Of course, it's never the same.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Person. Wow. Yeah, but it's so hard to meet John Carpenter, right? He doesn't really do conventions anymore. And here's the best part. So Carpenter signatures usually go for about $250 to $300, right? But this one here on the mini poster, there was a blemish on the side of it. Not like the signature was fine. The thing, the poster itself is fine, but there's like a blemish on the dark side. If you picture that classic Halloween poster, the pumpkin with the knife. So the black part on the right side has got like a little bit of like a fading. So I actually got it discounted at $75, which I was like, hell friggin' yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, like you can't even notice it, right? So that was really cool. That's in my top shelf of horror signatures now. Also at that same show, one of my favorite horror artists, 2 of my favorite horror artists were there. Mike Ruth, who was a good buddy of mine. He's always the first booth I hit up at any show he's at. His stuff's incredible. He does always does these, for the years I've known him, he always does like a pre-done skull sketch on whatever his newest cover art is for a comic. Just for me, he's got it under the table with my name on it. So that was cool. And he just wrapped up his 4-issue Dog series, which is it's about like a werewolf, but it's a bear, like a werebear guy from Vietnam. It's a cool story. There's like a lot of monsters and stuff in it. So I was able to score some original art from the comic at the same time. And it appears risen from the dead, a Wild C has joined us. What's going on, C?
Hey, man, what's going on? How you guys doing?
Man?
Good,
man. What kind of creepy stuff have you been up to this summer?
Well, this summer has been real busy and kind of real relaxed. So I can't even remember where we left off during our summer break, but I think we were gearing up for the Living Dead weekend, which we did up in Monroeville, Pennsylvania. That was really awesome. We were there for 3 days. We got to see a couple people. We got to meet Gigi in person, which was fantastic.
That's cool. Yeah, the pictures, man. I'm so jealous. It looked fun.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. And while we're on that topic, we already applied for next year and we got accepted, so we'll be back up there next year.
Definitely going to try and hit up. For anyone listening that doesn't know, this fest that C's talking about is the actual mall from Dawn of the Dead, the original 70s Romero Dawn of the Dead. And they have like walking tours and a lot of classic zombie actors and stuff that show up there. So a very cool event.
Yeah, dude, it was no, you're great, man. It was really awesome. we were working the booth, so we didn't get a whole bunch of time. But we tried to get off as much as we could, and we ran into a bunch of other authors and people who sell and collect all sorts of weird stuff. I was able to pick up a couple books. I cannot remember the names of them, so please forgive me. But one of the authors that we worked with was, or that we met up there, was Allison B. Sullivan. She writes kind of shorter novella books in the zombie universe, which were really cool.
Right on.
But yeah, other than that, man, it's been real slow. I did take the kids camping at one point, but it wasn't anything crazy. I know what we were talking about. It was good.
Nice.
What else?
Camping's always good, man. Like, to go a summer without a camping trip, right?
Yeah, it's been tough to be able to get out and go do stuff in the last couple of years, but this summer's been really relaxed. So, but yeah, so we did that. What else? I picked up a couple books from a brand new bookstore. They only used to do like events, right, where they would kind of make booths and everything, and their whole goal was to be able to collect enough money from all of these events around the area to open their own store.
Oh, I love that.
And they were actually just able to. I think the grand opening was last weekend or the weekend before. I'll have to get the name of them as well. My wife remembers everything, and I don't. I just go and look at all the stuff.
Right on.
But yeah, it's been a horror reduced summer for sure. What else did we do?
Now fall's here, man. We could remedy that really quick, right? What about movies? Get into any horror movies?
Well, so every couple days I wake up early and I just watch horror movies on the Sci-Fi Channel. A lot of the repeat offenders, Aliens, Predator. Yeah. Bride of Chucky was on just the other day. I rewatched Ready or Not a couple days ago.
Part 2's coming out. They just announced it. Part 2 to Ready or Not.
I did not know that, but that is.
Yeah. I just heard that
some
today,
of the best news I've ever heard. Well, so what I just realized, well, not just realized, last week or the week before when I watched that new vampire movie Abigail, was made by the creators of Ready or Not.
Oh, no way.
And I went into it kind of hesitant because, a lot of people on like the CDH server and on X and, all the other social media stuff would be like, one person really loved the movie. A bunch of people, were really disappointed in it and all that type of stuff. But
I loved it.
I finished that movie very, very happy with it. I thought it was fantastic.
See, I was on the latter side of that. I generally don't like trash in movies, but I was not a fan. There was only, I think, one part in that movie that I was really, really happy with, and that was and I hate dance scenes. Let me just say that. I don't like dance scenes in movies, but But the first one in that I absolutely loved. Blood and Tears is one of my favorite Danzig songs. I just thought that they killed it there, but that was like my only happy takeaway from it. But I think I'm in the minority. I think most people, I know it's a mixed bag of reviews, but I definitely know that most people enjoyed it. So I'm glad that you did, man.
Yeah, it was, there's this weird layer of what is a horror movie and what's not a horror movie. How much comedy can you inject into it before it becomes no longer, in that horror theme? Yeah. And I think they're able to offset, especially whoever, I don't know the guy's name or the lady's name, whoever, made these two movies, Ready or Not and Abigail. But they are so over the top with their just human body parts exploding, and I friggin' love it. I don't know what it is, but yeah, man, other than that, it's been, not a whole lot of stuff to report on this summer. But what about you? How about how's your movie viewing going this summer?
Yeah, it's actually been pretty good. So I'm going to start at what I would like to think of the highest point of this. I was able to catch Longlegs in theater. Now I had plans to go see it with my goddaughter, and then she got sick, and then she lives about an hour away from me, so it was kind of hard to line things up. But the theater just down the street from me, they brought it back. It was like gone from theaters. I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to catch it on streaming. But they brought it back after like the sales numbers came in for it. So they brought it back for a limited time. So I was able to catch it in theaters. I absolutely loved it. I'm not going to really get into any of the new movies that I watched. We're going to save these for some deep dives. But Longlegs, really liked it. Alien Romulus. Caught that in the theater actually the exact same weekend, which is rare for me to see two movies in the theater on the same weekend. I really like that too. I won't get into it, but I'll say it's now my third favorite in the franchise. Definitely nothing's going to top the first one. That's, cinematic gold, right? And Aliens Part 2 has a strong place. But yeah, it definitely takes the 3 spot. And then the big surprise hit for me, and I don't know why it took me so long to watch this. Immaculate just came out on Prime, and I watched it recently. And that is easily going to be one of my favorite movies of this year because it was amazing.
What's that?
Immaculate. It's this young girl who wants to become a nun gets invited to actually take her vows at this church in Italy. That's like a home for retired or sick nuns. The movie goes deep. It's beautifully shot. The acting is top notch. It's pretty. I'm not a jerk, but I'm a pretty tough judge of scoring movies. And there is not a single thing that I would argue that they could have done better in this movie. And it's weird. I was talking to someone not long ago about this, and they were like, they had watched it recently too, but didn't go see it in the theater because it didn't really capture them. And my theory on that is I feel like, it's a neon film, right? So it's an indie film. They probably had a small budget, and I think that they sacrificed a lot of the advertising budget to actually put into the movie because the movie is beautiful. And I came away with one thought: I am not sleeping on another neon horror movie again. You know what I mean? Like, as long as I know that Neon's doing a horror movie, I don't care what it looks like to me before going in. I'm going to check it out because they are knocking it out of the park. What about you, G? What'd you watch this summer?
Thanks, Ken. So I watched a lot of classics. Like I rewatched Alien.
Nice.
But
fantastic.
Yes, it's so good. I ferret away movies and save them like little acorns for October because for almost the last 10 years now, I think I'm on my 8th or 9th year. I wish I'd been keeping better count. But I watch a new to me horror movie every day of the month of October. And normally I would just like tweet about it or post about it. But since joining Cold Dead Heart, I've also been posting it there. So
Nice.
I'm kind of squirreling things away for
And
Ken.
I absolutely love that because I've done 31 Days of Horror for years. But generally, it's like, for me, it's always been like my favorite all-time horror movies, right? And I'll cycle
that's a
through
good
them.
way to go. That's a good way to go.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's like mostly dominated by like 80s slashers and stuff. A lot of classics. I'll do all the classic Universal monsters and Hammer monsters. But it wasn't until we started talking on the Discord and you had mentioned like a new to me movie. And I was like, that is friggin' brilliant because there are so many, like I'm an 80s kid, right? So like, I think a lot of us
were
yeah, it's so easy to get stuck. Like a lot of us just live in that 80s, early 90s, late 70s realm of horror. But
and we're missing all the good stuff.
we're missing, new good classics, right? And so I love that idea, and I've incorporated. I still do a mix, but I try and at least once or twice a week throughout October to make sure I watch a movie that I've never seen. Yeah, that's cool that you do it.
Yeah, and I think what's also fun is that this year I'll be interacting a lot more with people in the server for Cold Dead
Oh, for
Hearts.
sure.
So,
Yeah,
and
we got a lot
streaming
of new
here and
members.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, streaming here and there. So if you would like to watch horror movies in October, please join. Another cool thing we're doing, speaking of the server, is we're doing Goretober, which is if you're an artist, you can
Horror art.
horror artist. Every day there'll be a different prompt, and you just draw it and post it, and people vote on their favorites. And then if you win, you get some emojis for the server, and so some other like a role
Shout out on the
recognition.
socials. Yeah.
Credit
Yeah,
on all socials.
it was a lot of
Mhm.
fun. It was a lot of fun last year between the 31 Days of Horror and the
Mhm.
Goretoberfest.
Oh my
We
gosh,
had a
so
ball
fun.
last year, and there's so many more members this year. It's going to be really interesting to see the new artists, and also I think last year we were kind of posting the team leaders were all kind of putting out our favorite movies. But I think this year they're doing a bit different. They're sourcing from the community everyone's favorite movie and then spotlighting it every day. And then we do the horror movie marathons every Friday throughout October. Between your guys' lists, like me adding movies that you guys are watching so we could talk about them, and the movie marathons and the Wither Friday night movies, I think my horror movie count last October hit like in the low 60s.
Oh my
For the
goodness.
month. It was ridiculous. But like on Fridays, we were watching like 4 or 5 horror movies a day. And then we'd have the Wither party in the evening, right? And like, so you're crushing almost the entire week's worth in one day. But I was also watching, 1 to 2 horror movies a night throughout the week. So yeah, absolutely crushed it last year. But yeah, the server's growing. If anyone's listening and you want to jump into a cool, very welcoming environment, kind of on the outskirts of social media, it's monitored by a ton of really fantastic team leaders. So, there's no politics, no negativity. It's very cool. It's growing rapidly, and it's a lot of fun. You want to talk with fellow horror fans, get recommendations, give recommendations. If you have YouTube channels that you want to drop links to, pop by, man. Pop by and hang out with us and have some nice horror chats.
Speaking of exciting horror projects, don't you have some news for us about what's going on in the Wither universe?
Yeah.
So we do. We do. We have the 2 big ones right now, and I'll make it super quick. So we do the Wither Chronicles every year, kind of an annual, which you two are very familiar with.
Yep.
The volume 2 is going to come out October 31st. We have 14 authors from, 3 continents, 5 countries who have all provided a story where 100% of the proceeds are going to go to a nonprofit called We Fight Monsters, which is their main base is out of Memphis, Tennessee, but they do a lot of work in Afghanistan. They're over in Ukraine right now. They have some people down in India and in Southeast Asia as well. And the whole mission is to, one, help battered and abused women and stop human trafficking. Yeah. The other side is inside the United States. For the most part, they do a lot of dope house cleaning. And they have a huge veteran presence as well, which is what allows them to operate in some of these other, semi-permissible areas where, there might be global conflicts going on, and they are actively pulling people in dangerous situations out and trying to get them back up on their feet and everything. So Wither Chronicles Volume 2 will publish October 31st. We're running a little bit behind on it. It's been weird this time around, but we will have it put out on time. And I think we'll have the art for the cover up in the next 4 or 5 days.
Amazing.
And
it's such a cool project, and that charity is rock solid, man. I looked into them after like around last year, and they do some amazing stuff. So, yeah, kudos, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. No, they got their hands in so many pots. It's kind of hard to keep track of everything that they're doing. But you know, we made it where it's, you know, we will just supply as much funding as humanly possible, and you know, let them kind of work their magic with it. So
cool.
I love it.
Right
That's
on.
great. It's a good cost.
And then the and then the second project is, so it's a book. We labeled it book 2 in the Wither series. However, it's actually book 1.5. And it's called The Rot War. And what this book does is it's in the same universe as the Wither series, but it follows a special forces team at the onset of the outbreak. So when you read the original Wither book, and one of the, you know, the critiques that we got back from it, from a lot of people was, you know, it's, you know, we don't know how the virus or bacteria or fungi started. We don't know any of these, you know, because people get in this comfort zone when they read a lot of modern day media and watch a lot of modern day movies and films. You know, all of the answers are given to them. So they have all of this backside information. Yeah, exactly. That you wouldn't normally have. And when we wrote the very first book, that we wanted to avoid that as much as possible. So which
actually was one of the things that I really liked. It was almost like you were living it through the eyes of the people, and you know that the story was about, and they didn't know what was going on. So why would the reader, right?
Exactly. And unfortunately, it did piss off a lot of readers, but you know, we also have a lot of readers who really enjoy it. The way we wrote it. But so what we've decided to do is, with the second book, this book gives you kind of a precursor to see a little bit of, you know, how the zombie outbreak started. But what it is, it's as a segue from the comic book into the Wither universe. So, you know, we're trying to tell the story from as many different aspects or views as possible. So we wrote this book. We wrote it in January. We finished it in March of this year. Now, the biggest issue with this book is that it does, you know, me and Z being prior service members, we had to get permission to publish it because we tried to keep as much of the jargon and as much of the equipment and as much of the tactics as realistic as possible. But you know, the government says that, you know, there's certain things that can be put out and certain things that can't. So we had to submit it for review so the government could be like, you know, take this out. Like, you know, take this out, redact this, change this, add this, take away this, whatever. So we emailed it to them. Yeah, dude, it's the weirdest, you know, it's a weird process. But we emailed the script to the White House like 3 months ago. And we didn't hear anything in return. There was no like confirmation we got it. There was no phone calls, no emails, no nothing. And out of the blue, like 3 days ago, we got an email with we have a new cover sheet that we have to insert into the book. That's got like their stamp of approval that it's been reviewed and is, you know, approved for publication. And we have to add in 2 or 3 disclaimers inside, you know, like everything in this book is made of fiction. And if any, you know, we have to add like 3 more disclaimers, you know, like the views of the authors is not the government's, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But yeah, so that book is published or ready to be published, but we got to figure out when we're going to do it now because it's, you know, we're in the height of the Chronicles, and we don't want to take away from one to give to the other, you know, rob Peter to pay Paul type thing. So we're going to get the Chronicles done, ready to go, and then we'll start looking at how and when we're going to get the Rot War out. But it should be sometime in November or December is when that will be published as well.
Amazing.
That sounds so exciting, C. And I know I submitted my story, but I haven't read everyone else's, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. And I also wanted to say thank you, dear listeners, for joining us again, and we really do appreciate you. We would love to hear your feedback on what we're doing and what you like to hear, and we'd love to see you in the Cold Dead Heart community. We hope that you enjoy our deep dives coming up. Our next one is going to be in a violent nature, and we just want to say thank you from the bottom of our cold, dead hearts.